Welcome back to the Black and Gold Report. We're now joined by track and field head coach Adonis Stanley. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Looking back at the great accomplishments of last season, could you highlight the accomplishments of each team and the performances of the key athletes?
All right, pretty much last year for the men's track and field team, we finished first in the region last year, and for the women's team, we finished second. So pretty much, and then we also had Mars Eubanks that went to the NCAA championships that got All-American accolades in both the 100 and 200 meter dash. So it's pretty much just hopefully we will be able to perform the same way this year as we did last year at regionals.
During the offseason, you were hired as the new head coach after a 30-year stint from the previous coach, Larry Rogers. What knowledge and advice did he pass down to you during your time as a graduate assistant and now as head coach that you take into your first season?
Pretty much what Larry taught me, he just told me to make sure I have my I's dotted, my T's crossed, making sure I have everything organized. And pretty much, if I have to think of one thing, he just said patience. It takes time to build a program. Nothing's going to happen overnight. So pretty much what I do now is just take everything one day at a time to build this program into the caliber program that I want it to become.
Well, spearheading off that again with this being your first year as head coach, what are your goals for yourself and for your team this year?
Pretty much my goals for both teams were, as for the men's team, I want to pretty much continue the success of the men's track and field program as it has been in the past. And also for the women's side, with the women's side being such a young team, we've only been around for about 10, 11 years, I pretty much want to get the women's team up to the same caliber, the same level as the men's track and field program, especially as it relates to getting more women athletes to NCAA championships.
Well, with that being your goal, it probably takes a great deal of leadership. Right. And leadership is one of those key factors in having a strong team. So in terms of leaders, who do you have that's coming back that you expect to step up as a leader again, or who do you have that's coming in that you think will pose the best leadership?
On the men's side, I have Jonathan Williams that's returning. The past 2 years, he's been progressing and becoming a better athlete on and off the track. So I'm expecting a lot of things out of him. We also have Brian Armour, who was a transfer from Bacone College out of Oklahoma. He's shown great potential to be a great leader on and off the track. So if I had to choose on the men's side, those two, and for the women, Kiara Tennyson, she's been to NCAAs before, so she knows what it takes to compete at that level. And since we have such a young women's team, I expect her to step up and be a leader to the young women that we have on the team this year.
Well, last year, the men's track team was led by two-time All-American Maurice Eubanks and also by Carlos Jordan, who was a contender in both the 100 and 200 meter dash. In terms of sprinters this year, who on both the men's and women's side do you expect to be contenders?
Well, on the men's side, in the short sprints, we don't have as much depth as we had last year. But as far as in the short sprints, I expect Shaquille Ray, which he's a freshman from Scotland High School. He's been looking pretty good during the off season, so I'm expecting him to do very well in the short sprints as well as in the jumps. On the women's side, we have freshmen, so we don't really have no returners in the short sprint. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see how these young ladies are going to perform as far as in the short sprints this year.
All right, and then moving over to the middle distance and distance runners, so in the 800, the 1500, and then your miles, with another specialty of those distance races being in track and field on both the men's and women's side, who do you see as being the biggest help to this team?
Well, of course, Pot Novello on the men's side. He's had such success since he's been here at UNC Pembroke, coming off a successful cross-country season. And coming into track, he's qualified provisionally in the 5,000 the past 2 years for NCAA. So pretty much with him, I'm hoping that he actually gets to NCAA championships this year versus just qualifying. And on the women's side, we have Livia Mahaffey. So I'm expecting her to do great things this year too, and hopefully qualify provisionally in her events.
Yeah, those athletes you just talked about had a great cross-country season, so they factor into the track and field as well. Who in terms of newcomers in the middle distance do you have
Newcomers in the middle distance that we have Julia Sims. I'm not pretty much familiar with who we have coming because I haven't seen any of them perform. But for the most part, from the results that I've seen, how they've done in cross country, I'm expecting them to also perform well too on the women's side.
All right, well, we're going to take our next break, and when we come back, we'll continue talking with head track and field coach Adonna Stanley. So stay tuned.